Here's my street, turn left. Okay, my house is right there, 439. That was my room right there. The one that... Yeah. So can we get out? Here's the old house that I grew up with in San Antonio in Leon Valley. That window to the right was my room, where I had many girls sneak in. This is the old house on Pacer Trail where Brandon Burkhart grew up, and we would come upstairs and watch porno magazines together and play Nintendo and whatever else gadget he had at the time, and we would trade comics on that front porch. And on this driveway is where he hit me with a tennis racket and broke my front tooth. Fucking bastard. This is the old house where that bastard Todd White grew up in and taught me how to be a man, where we would watch porno in that garage and he would do airbrushing and taught me some skills. That's the old Todd White house. So this is the house that I grew up in all the way up to high school, 6439 Pacer Trail in San Antonio, Texas, in Leon Valley. I went to Marshall High School, class of 1990, and that three window was my room, where I would sneak in a bunch of girls back in the day. And then the side window was my sister's room. And this yard was full of trees and shrubs, and it was out of control, and the neighbors called it the jungle because my mom was from Vietnam and she wanted it that way. But the sidewalk right here, come here, I would literally take naps on the sidewalk growing up. I would sleep on the sidewalk and right where that mailbox is, that was a huge oak tree, which is no longer there. So I would sleep under the tree, and then I would climb up the tree also, and I would take naps on the tree. And so down here, about 4 houses where this guy grew up with, Todd White, and across the street was Brandon Burkhart, who Brandon now lives in LA like I do, and Todd lived in LA but now lives in Austin. And so all these homes still look the same, but of course all the foliage is completely different and almost unrecognizable. So right now I'm gonna get a little emotional.
Go sleep on the sidewalk like old times there.
Okay, cut. So right here is where the big oak tree was. You can still see parts of it. I should take this with me.
Yeah.
And add it part of my art collection.
Yeah.
But you see this mailbox? This mailbox wasn't there. And our mailbox was right over here at this, and it was like one of those, it was a post with 2 mailboxes.
Somebody.
Huh?
Somebody at the door.
No.
Huh?
No. And our mailbox was right here. And another reason my mom pissed off a lot of the neighbors is because our mailbox was like this high. It was a huge mailbox. And she didn't give a shit. She was from Vietnam and could care less what people thought. And so, like on the side over here, like you would never even walk down the side of our house because it was so much unkept foliage that you could get bit by a spider or snake or whoever the fuck, you know. It's just crazy. This house it still looks the same, but it didn't look like that back then because you couldn't even see it because it was like the jungle. I'm taking this back to Hollywood.
All Eric, there's someone looking through the front door window.
Oh, that's the spirit of my mom who continues to haunt this neighborhood. Is that really?
Yeah.
We should go say hello.
Say hello.
So this is the house that old bastard Jimmy grew up, and I would come over and watch San Antonio Spurs games, and they were always getting beat by the Portland Trail Blazers. But this is the house that I would come in, and I would go into his refrigerator and make sandwiches because I lived in poverty across the street around the block, and I came here just to eat. So this is the old neighborhood that I grew up in, called Canterfield. And we're doing a little tour with Bobby, who also grew up in this area. And Brad, who was on this road trip with me, who's cleaning up the windshield because I need to film through the windshield. But a lot of these homes back in the day, I vandalized one way or another. We did some crazy shit back in the 80s.
We're doing an EMS
Because we were a bunch of misfits. And a lot of debauchery happened in this fucking valley right here. Oh my God, I can't even imagine. I can't believe I never went to jail. So this is the old high school that I grew up in, John Marshall, in Leon Valley. This section is completely new. How old is this, you think?
Well, it used to be called Northside High, so probably the 40s.
But this building right here is new-ish. I don't recognize it. Anyways, so this is the old home of the Rams, John Marshall High School. Not to be confused with the John Marshall in Hollywood. And so, my senior year in high school, I was a photo editor of the newspaper and yearbook. And we won what they call Tops in Texas, which basically is like the championship of winning state football, but we won for journalism. So I was always pretty much a badass, surrounded by amazing people. Wouldn't you agree, guys? Do we have validation here?
Yes.
Always a badass. Always a badass.
So once a badass, always badass. And so, anyways, yeah, this is
the bus stop.
the bus stop.
Yeah, we're about to pass where all the buses were lining up,
Yeah, I remember this for sure.
waiting in the heat.
I remember this courtyard. Yeah, they would do a lot of ROTC stuff out here. I remember.
Yeah. Then the band hall here at the end.
The band hall.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. Can we go around this thing or no?
Pause it right there.
Wait, hold on. Here, get the band wagon.
Oh, yeah. I want to get a picture of Brenda. here I am at John Marshall High School, where I grew up 4 years, from 86 to 1990. We were the Fine, we were the Mighty, we were the class of 1990. And our class song was Don Henley's Into the Innocence. And this is Bobby, he went here too. But he had a drug addiction, and he was doing human trafficking, so he got busted. But here we are, 2022. And my senior year in high school, I was the photo editor of the yearbook and newspaper, so I was always at all the games. The football games were not played here. Here's a football field. They were played, where were North? They were played at some other stadium.
Northside Athletic.
And I was at all the games on the sidelines photographing. And my junior and senior year, my high school football did very well. Historically, because they were always just like a mediocre crap team. But my junior and senior year, Marshall High School did very well in football. In fact, the next year, they went to the state championship and lost. And that was played at the Astrodome, I believe. But my senior year, I was shooting all the football games, and there was a player named Priest Holmes. He was a running back, and he graduated and went off to UT, I believe, and then he played for the Kansas City Chiefs as Anthony Holmes. So he was one of the guys that came out of this high school. And then I don't know if there's anyone else famous that came out of here in that era outside of me. But you know, this guy was many episodes on a Netflix documentary about all the crazy shit he did. But yeah, here we are, and things look different, but it kind of feels the same. So what is different at this high school is above Bradford's head is a security camera. So that's kind of like the new thing now with high schools, unfortunately. We didn't have that kind of thing back in the 80s. So times are definitely different. And we just hope that everyone's safe.
What the hell is that?
Because that would be.
And you can see this is volleyball on the doors.
So what is that? Say again?
I think that building over there where it says volleyball, that's the gym. And then I remember they had added on over here where there's some English classes and so forth. So yeah, it's changed several times since we went to school.
What about that big building?
That was the vocational building over there.
Oh, okay.
They had a shop down below, and then off to the side they had agriculture.
All right, so enough of this sentimental shit. We're gonna go check out the new stuff. What, Pearl?
The Pearl.
And Fiesta, Texas, and SeaWorld, and some brothels.
Brothels for sure.
Brothels, yeah. So my father, Lou Swenson, this was his old photography studio in San Antonio off of Bandera Road in Leon Valley that he had for a few decades. And he was really well known in the city of San Antonio because he would shoot the city council and he would shoot the mayor, Mayor Henry Cisneros at the time. And he would shoot a lot of high-end, big-time weddings. So this was Lou Swenson photography right here. And my dad's history was before his first career was he was in the military. He was first in the Marines in Korea, then he was in the Army in Vietnam, 2 tours where he met my mom. He was Lieutenant Colonel. Then he retired and moved to San Antonio and started his photography business. And then in 1986, when I entered high school, he moved back to Colorado, where he's from, and started a fine art photography business. So this was his commercial photography business. And then he ended his life doing fine art photography like Ansel Adams, black and white photography in Colorado, where he had his own darkroom, and he had a darkroom here too. So now it's different. It's a Vapid, and then we got an Obamacare Center, and then over here we got a funeral home. So yeah, things have changed.